Well, hello again, everyone. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by 101cbd.org. Now, I can't say enough good things about them and their products. Some of the most restful sleep that I've gotten recently has been while I was taking their Chill X blend. And right now, for every order placed this Memorial Day weekend through Monday, May 27th, 2019, they'll donate a bottle of raw CBD products to a disabled veterans through an amazing organization called Project Resilience. On top of that, you're going to get a 27% discount on your order when you use promo code MEM27 at checkout. So go over to 101cbd.org and take a look at their products. And help out a veteran by ordering some CBD oil. Now don't forget, if you're a cultivator or a home grower, you can find out 4 times faster whether the plant you're growing is a male or a female when you use the plant DNA sex testing kit from Delta Leaf Labs. Now they make it really easy to take a sample from your plant, you send that in, and a few days after the lab gets that sample, you'll know exactly what you have to work with. Go over to deltaleaflabs.com and order your plant DNA testing kits today. And at checkout, use promo code IMGS10 to get 10% off of that order. Alright, now let's start the show. Brothers and sisters, welcome back to the In My Grow Show, the podcast dedicated to taking the mystery out of cannabis. I'm your host, Alex, and I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to me. I hope everybody's enjoying the long weekend because it is Memorial Day weekend. Now, a little bit of history in case you're not American, or maybe you are an American and you didn't know. But Memorial Day is an American holiday observed on the last Monday in May, honoring the men and women who died while serving in the U.S. military. Originally, it was known as Decoration Day, and it originated in the years following the Civil War. So there you go, just a little bit of American history. Literally, a little bit. So a couple of days ago, I saw the movie We the People on Netflix. It's a documentary that follows cancer patients that are children who also take cannabis for their cancer. And it tells a lot of really great stories about cancer and cannabis. You know, and some of them are pretty sad because some of the kids lost that battle with cancer. And it was a pretty good documentary. A bit of a tearjerker. But I think that's to be expected when you put cancer and kids together. Anyways, one of the things that surprised me about the movie was that Ricky Lake was a producer of it. And it didn't surprise me because I don't think Ricky Lake can do, great documentaries. It mostly surprised me because when she was a lot younger, she was in one of my favorite movies, which is the original Hairspray. There's no point to that story. I just wanted you to know the connection that I made with We the People and Hairspray. That's all. Alright, moving along. Here in a little bit, I'm going to talk about the soil food web, because I think it's important for us to understand how plants and the other living things in the soil work together. That way it'll help us better understand how our plants take up nutrients and how those nutrients affect the soil that they're in. I'm also going to play a conversation that I recorded with Dayana from Happy Tree Art Class. They're the ones that put on the puff and paint that I went to a couple of weeks ago. I think it was Mother's Day. It was Mother's Day. But first, let's do the strain of the week, and that's going to be the Y-Kiki. And this is a sativa dominant hybrid with a super sweet and tropical flavor. The aroma is a little earthy, which to me just means, it smells like wet dirt and fruit. Mostly like, I would compare it to like wet dirt and oranges that are almost too ripe. Yeah, that sounds about right. It's not a really heavy hitter as far as sativa goes. I'd say it's about a 5 or a 6 on the highness meter. But then again, I'm a daily user, so be an adult and use accordingly. But if you do see the Y-Kiki out there in the wild and you like a fruity bud, you should pick some up. It's not very heavy. It'll be a good one to roll up and smoke with your grandmother. Seriously. Alright, now let's move forward with the report from the Cannabis Front Line. No, I thought this was cool. Governor Jared Polis of Colorado signed legislation into law that allows physicians to recommend medical cannabis for any condition of which an opiate would be otherwise prescribed. Now, I think that's really cool because it really does change the conversation as far as cannabis being used for pain management and taking it more seriously for that kind of thing. So right on, good for Governor Polis. Next is an article that I found that's titled Past Cannabis Use Associated with Decreased In-Hospital Mortality Among Heart Attack Patients. It says, investigators from the University of Colorado School of Medicine Division of Cardiology compared the hospital records of over 3,800 heart attack patients who acknowledged having consumed cannabis or had tested positive for it to those of over 1.2 million similar matched controls. It says marijuana use prior to AMI, acute myocardial infarction. Yes, acute myocardial infarction was associated with decreased in-hospital mortality post-AMI. In addition, average length of stay for marijuana users was shorter than non-marijuana users. 4.5 days compared to 6.25 days. Alright, so let's see. This study is saying that if you're a past cannabis user, now I wonder, like, past, does that mean regular, like daily, weekly? I mean, how much cannabis do you need to use and how often in order for you to have the benefits, like if you do have a heart attack, you're going to, kind of bounce back a little quicker? That's my question. It also goes on to say patients with past cannabis exposure also were less likely to suffer from hypertension, heart failure, coronary artery disease, diabetes, and arterial fibrillation. Researchers concluded in this large multi-regional analysis, marijuana use reported during hospitalization for AMI was associated with a significant decreased risk of in-hospital mortality. Alright, so there again, here's what I'm taking away from it. What it's telling us is that in order to protect our adult hearts, we should all be taking a little bit of cannabis daily. Now, I'm inserting that daily part. That's just me. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I'm just a guy reading some stuff that I found on the internet. But that's what I think it's saying. What do you think it's saying? Find me on Instagram and let me know. That's @InMyGrow. Another article that I found is called Seniors Report That Cannabis Positively Impacts Their Quality of Life. I bet it does. Researchers from the University of Colorado's Medicine surveyed 274 older respondents. The average age was 72.5. Marijuana users reported improved overall health, quality of life, day-to-day functions, and improvement in pain. Respondents were most likely to report using cannabis to treat symptoms associated with arthritis, as well as back pain, anxiety, and depression. Respondents also frequently reported consuming various formulations of cannabis, such as edibles and topical products. Well, I think that's great news for Grandma and Grandpa. There's nothing wrong with a little bit of cannabis on board to help you get through the day. Doesn't matter how old you are. Well, it does matter. You have to be an adult, 21 and over, please. But after that, yeah, man, Grandma and Grandpa, go ahead. Have some cannabis. Feel flexible again. And I found that study over at the Normal website. That is normal.org. Go over there, get educated, and become a member. Alright, now I'm ready to talk a little bit about the soil food web. And I had written an article that I posted up on the website. That is inmygrow.com. If you go over there, and if it's not on the home page, just type in the search window, soil food web, and the article will pop right up. Now, just a little disclaimer here. I'm not a soil scientist. I'm not any kind of scientist. I used a lot of different sources, both from books that I have and from the internet, to put this together. So it's very likely that things were left out. If you want more fine details about what the soil food web is and does, there are a few sources at the bottom of the article that is up on the website. Once again, that's at inmygrow.com. Now, a food web is more complicated than a food chain, because in a chain, we can easily track the energy. Let's say it goes from grass to cow to human. The soil food web has a lot more complicated relationships between all of the organisms that live in the soil. And it's made even stranger because those relationships change as the plant's needs change. Okay, a majority of the energy that's pumped into the soil food web is made by plants photosynthesizing sunlight. Yeah, that blew my mind once I understood that. Scientists believe that plants use up to 20% of their photosynthetic energy, combine that with different minerals and some CO2, and they make compounds called exudates. Think of the word exude, which means to discharge, secrete, emit, sweat. Now, these exudates are secreted into the soil's rhizosphere, which is what they call that millimeter of soil that surrounds all the plant roots. That's where a lot of biological action happens. And these exudates play a lot of different roles. They can be food, but they can also be chemical signals that the plant releases if they're under attack. And the hopes there is that these exudates will attract bacteria or fungus that will kill whatever's attacking it. That's just one of the things that they do. The main thing that the exudates are going to do is that they're going to attract bacteria and funguses to come and feed off of them. And these bacteria are going to break down those exudates, and whatever they don't absorb, they're going to poop out as plant-available nutrients. On top of that, when those bacteria get eaten by nematodes and protozoas, they're going to get pooped out as fertilizer also. Another big player in the soil food web is a mycorrhizal fungus. It's estimated that about 80% of all plant species have some kind of mycorrhizal association. Now here's the crazy way this fungus works. It's going to colonize on the roots, and then its spores, its hyphae, are going to start to grow outward into the soil. And as they grow, they're going to pick up water, and they're going to pick up other nutrients and enzymes, and they're going to bring it back to the plant root. In exchange, the plant root is going to give up exudates to feed the fungus. Now, even though the fungus isn't a root itself, it acts a lot like it, and in a lot of ways, it's better at absorbing moisture and nutrients than the actual roots are. Another thing that the mycorrhiza will do is that it's going to grow in between all those little spaces, those nooks and crannies in the soil, looking for water and nutrients. But they also help stick soil particles together, and they make pathways for air to travel and water to travel, which is a big deal because we all know that roots need oxygen. And the same thing happens with the mycorrhizal fungus as happens with the bacteria, in that bigger predators will come and eat them. Now, these bigger predators that are going to eat the bacteria and the fungus, one of them is going to be the protozoas. And they're going to graze along the edges of those roots that have that bacteria just encrusted all over it. Now, those protozoas are also going to feed on some types of nematodes that also come in to feed. But they're also going to be prey for other types of nematodes that are coming in not so much to feed on the fungus, but to feed on the protozoa. And nematodes are just tiny round words. They're not segmented. And they will feed on bacteria and fungus and other soil-dwelling pests. And as they travel through the soil eating, of course, they're also going to be pooping. And that poop, once again, is going to be plant-available nutrients. Now, when I say plant-available, I mean it's really easy for the plant to absorb those nutrients. Another player in this crazy web is probably the biggest superstar, and that is the earthworm. And they are known as shredders because they do ingest organic matter. Alright, I had to hit pause right there. My recorder ran out of battery life, so I had to change it. Where was I? Oh yeah, as the earthworms move through the soil, they're going to provide food for the fungus and the bacteria, as well as spreading their nutrient-rich worm castings or poop. And those castings are going to improve soil structure, fertility, drainage, and balance, and help balance the soil pH. Now, the enzymes that are made by the bacteria in the worm's gut is able to break down chemical bonds and release more plant-available nutrients into the soil. 10 times more phosphorus, 7 times more potassium, 5 times more nitrogen, and 1.5 times more calcium, as well as other micro and macronutrients. Now, the soil food web doesn't stop at earthworms. The predators just get bigger as we keep going. Basically, everything that's alive is part of the soil food web, is the idea there. And every time something gets eaten and gets pooped out in the soil, our plants just get a little bit more fertilized. As I said at the beginning, these are just the highlights of what I wrote about the soil food web. Go over to inmygrow.com so you can read the whole article at your own pace and get the rest of the details, because I did leave out some parts. Alright, now that that's out of the way, I'm going to play a conversation that I recorded with Dayana from Happy Tree art class. And that was the art class that I went to on Mother's Day. I had a really great time at that art class, And I had a really great time talking to Dayana, as you can tell with the conversation that we had. So hang tight, listen to a little bit of music, and then I'm going to put that on for you. Well, everybody, on the phone with me today, I have Dayana, who is one of the masterminds behind Happy Trees Art Class 805. Dayana, welcome to the show, man. Hello?
Hi, sorry. I'm sorry, I didn't know when to start. Hi, thank you so much for having me.
That's all right, no problem. No, for a minute I thought you cut off because I'm recording phone calls in a new way now. So I'm still trying to figure it out. I was like, oh shit, the phone call dropped. But yeah, right on.
All right. No, yeah, thank you so much for having me. I was like, do I stay quiet or do I start? What do I do? Oh my god.
No, you're all right. You're doing it's cool, man. It's cool. So do me a favor, before we get too far into it, introduce yourself a little bit to everybody listening.
Cool. So my name is Dayana Zuniga. I'm from Oxnard, California, and I'm one of, well, it's only two of us now, but it was three of us who actually started Happy Tree art class. We lost one of our little branches, but because it's hard just being, like starting it's hard,
Yeah, so, for sure.
So yeah, it was cool. It was three of us. It was original idea that we got because we were like, we are stoner girls, and I am an artist. I do art. I do community organizing, and I'm an activist artist. So that's like kind of the label I give myself is activist artist, because like I really solely do art for things that I want to like push out, So I do a lot of mental health advocacy. I do a lot of immigration advocacy, a lot of environmental work, and that's usually what I use my art for, So I made like protest posters. We take them to rallies. So that's kind of like my background in the arts. So my friend had like sent a video and was like, hey, look, they're doing this in New York. And I mean, I know you've heard of the puff and paint classes, I mean, the wine and sip classes, sorry. So we're like, dude, we should do that with wine. We should do it with weed. So we see this video. They're doing their classes. And then I call my friend and I was like, do you think we'd do this in a week? Do you think we'd do it in a week? And she's like, yeah, we could totally do it in a week. So we like hit up two of our really good artist friends that are from Oxnard, because that's one of the things that Happy Tree really tries to do is we really try to fight the gentrification of our communities through showcasing and giving opportunities to like local 805 artists, So these are all artists that are like part of our community and have like rep really hard and do great work, but have not been given, the platform because it is so hard to catch a break, Yeah,
it's a really great way to like showcase their talents as an artist too for people.
Yeah, and it's really therapeutic, we definitely are trying to provide a healthy outlet, to strengthen mental health, both through unleashing the artistic expression and kind of bringing together the community and building community while also advocating for weed as a medicine, because I suffer from, clinical panic disorder. So I have really bad anxiety, and it really does help me, and it actually does something for my healing. So just the way that I have like healed through my art, I have healed through, ingesting CBD, ingesting THC, like really becoming a member of the cannabis. And also advocate, because I'm totally for it as a medical, tool.
Yeah, no, I think the way you guys go about it, I think the way you ladies go about it as far as like taking it beyond just even taking it to a different step as far as like how cannabis is going to help you and how you're also going to celebrate and party with it. Because, yeah, I went to your art class a couple of weeks ago, which was really cool.
Yeah, it was so fun having you. It was a really exciting class. That was a Mother's Day class. We were really scared. We're like, are we going to do this? But I love 420 moms. Like, I know there's so many more out there that are kind of like hush-hush, because of the stigmas. But, yeah, we were so excited. We actually did have like a couple moms come out. And you came out, which was really cool because it was a cool mixture of like people. And yeah, like I really hope you had fun.
I was surprised that a couple of people brought their moms, and the moms were into it. They're like, yeah, let's do this. And some, like there was a son and a mom that had been there before.
Oh yeah, they're like our regulars. So we were so lucky that our community has really accepted us. We have regulars. We have people that have seriously been coming to Happy Tree Art class every time we've had one. And it's really surreal that I like get to talk about it like this, because like I told you, it was like a video that we saw and we were like, we could do this, and then we were like, let's do it. And the first one actually took part in my backyard. So so I used to have my home, my family home used to have like a big backyard. So it's been kind of like a struggle because I lost my home, and then we lost our venue. And then so and it's all out of pocket, so we're still learning how to like not end in red numbers, and like how to go about it. Because I think when we first started, it was something that we were like, we want to heal the community, we want to start something cool. I didn't really think that it would ever flower into like such a great project, which we're super lucky.
Yeah, no, it is a cool project, man. It is a cool thing that you do, because ever since I first saw one of those like wine and paint places, the same kind of thing went into my head. Like, we can do that with weed, but I never saw anybody do it. So I was like, how the fuck do you do it? Seriously, because I was like, well, all right, yeah, I don't know. First, where the hell would you have it? Who wants a bunch of fucking strange stoners in their house? Hey, we're gonna paint. So when I saw what you guys were doing locally, because I had seen it in other states, but when I saw what you ladies were doing, I was like, oh, I need to see what's that about.
Yeah, no, and we're totally trying to give it a different mix too. When you think about cannabis events, like you think about like expensive, like tickets are like so expensive, and that's actually kind of like goes against what I believe I'm doing. Like I want this to be a resource that anybody could come and have a good time. Like you don't get turned away for like lack of funds. We have it set up to where if somebody can't pay, we have people who have like over donated, or we actually people who don't even come to the class, and they're like, hey, here's this money. And so we're really trying to set it up super, super like community uplifting, because that's the thing about the cannabis community. It's like really money, and it's like we want to move past that and like really focus on weed being like a tool for healing, even for everybody. It just can't be like the richer people who have access to the medicine. Like it has to be everywhere.
Yeah, no, you know what, you bring up a really good point. It is a really inexpensive way to go to a cannabis event. They all don't have to be these big fucking showy things, That's why I think I had so much fun, man. So
yeah, it was really cool. I know. I saw your painting was awesome. I was like, look at you getting in, and that's what we want. We want people to come in and get into it,
Yeah, no, you're real nice, man. I mean, it looks cool if I squint and kind of hold it away from me. But yeah, as long as I don't get too deep. But you know what? It came together better than I thought it would. Like at the end, I was all, that looks all right. Doesn't look like his, but it looks okay, man. So
yeah, I think you're being hard on yourself. You did really, really, really good.
Right.
and that's such, we were talking about like the hashtags, like your little 420 masterpiece. Like that's what I want. I want people to go home and look at their art piece and be like, oh man, like I A, did that myself, and B, was stoned out of my mind, And it is really inexpensive. It's really the deal of the town if you like think about it. Just an edible is like $25 to $30.
It's a great deal. It's a great deal. So, all right. So I'm gonna take everybody through what happened with me. All right. So I showed up a little bit early. I met the owner of the house. This guy named Juan, who fucking just loaded me up with the bong rip, which was great. So anybody who's curious, can you bring your own weed to these things?
Yeah, so we actually encourage people. We want people to bring their like rigs and their bongs, that's why the class. So like, if you guys are not familiar with the way we do things, so we open the doors at 4:20. So you get from like 4:20 to 6 to just like get stoned and mingle and build community, because we do have people who show up to these things alone. So it's cool. It's a good, really awesome way to interact. Be like, hey, hit my bong, So we do encourage people to bring their own weed, and bring their bongs, bring their rigs. Unfortunately, not a lot of people do. I think we have to be like BYOB or BYOW, you know, like bring your own weed, bring your own bong. But yeah, you are allowed to.
Yeah, that's what somebody asked me too before I went. They're like, "Hey, can you take your own stuff?" I was like, "Fuck, I don't know. I mean, I'm not taking anything, but fuck, I don't know. I don't even know where it's gonna be. I'll let you know."
Yeah.
I told them, "I'll let you know." And then I saw him the next day. I was like, "Yes, you can. You can take your own shit, bro."
Yeah, no, you could. Yeah, I don't know. I think as far as weed events, we like you saw, you know, we don't have any vendors. We're not like your typical, you know, 420 event. Like we're really just like an art class where you come and you get high, you know. So, cause that's what I do when I draw and then when I paint, you know, I get really stoned or have my bong and my weed next to me, you know, as I'm creating. So, and it puts you in a different mindset. You know, I don't know if you experienced it yourself, but it's almost a trance. Because you're like, this is goofy, ha 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 ha, to you're like, oh man, like this is coming out good, like, oh snaps, and then out of nowhere you're like, whoa, I did this is kind of cool, you know. So it's cool. It's a cool, really, like, it's a cool transition, because even people who come back, they're like, I've become so much better, and I'm like, I bet, because you got like some high quality teachers, you know.
Yeah, so you show up, right? You get your joint. Chai gives you a joint. Bam. And by the way, we got to mention Chai also. Cheyenne, who's the other half of this
oh yeah, that's
dynamic
the
duo.
Cheyenne. She's awesome. Honestly, when I cannot do it, this is definitely a group effort, you know, even down to like the person who helps me move the chairs and the tables, you know, like that's just my homie. And I'm always hitting him up and he's like, man, like, you need to get a truck, you know. So it's like we have it is a really group effort. And yeah, Chai's a rock star. She became involved through Happy Tree, so I can't even pinpoint like when I met Chai or when she became part of Happy Tree. I just remember like she showed up to a class and was so happy to be there, and she had her boyfriend, and her boyfriend was like really artistic, and she was like, my stuff doesn't look as good as his, and I was like, girl, don't trip, like your stuff looks great. So we just like developed a friendship. And she worked at a dispensary. She was like the manager of a dispensary, and I was like, hey, we're struggling really bad, like where to find our weed, you know, because we don't have like a connect or a sponsor, you know, we're so small. And she was like, I got you. And then like the magic happened or something, and then she became our third branch. And now we actually lost a branch, and she became like a really big leadership position. So I was like really lucky to have Chai. I could not do it without her.
Oh, wow, that's cool, man. I thought you guys had been friends for a while, but that's cool that you met through the class.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, her first class, I believe, was a graffiti workshop. We literally did like airsoft, because we have gone through like every medium. We've done graffiti, we've done paper art, you know, like
oh, wow.
Shai likes to cook, you know, so you know that guy Juan that you met, you know, who gracefully let us borrow his house, he's a chef. So he was like, you know, culinary arts, that's an art. Like, let's do a teaching, like a class, or you learn how to cook something.
Oh,
you know?
That'd be cool.
So yeah, so we're like open to a lot of different mediums, and yeah, we just want to like continue to provide awesome classes so people could like de-stress, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, so getting back to my story.
Sorry, I keep
No, that's all right. No, that's okay. That's the whole thing, man. That's all right. So then after Chai hands you a joint, she asks you, do you want your edible? And I'm thinking to myself, wait, I still got to drive to Ojai. No, I'm going to save mine for later. All right, so. But that's all right. So the name of the artist, his name was John?
Yeah, his name was John.
All right. So then John shows up. Really fucking great guy. He's got a lot of talent. Tells us, all right, we're going to draw a heart with blisters. I'm looking at him like, all right, fuck, let's do this. High as fuck, but let's go. My eyes barely open. So, I don't know, man. Like an hour later, it all came together. And, no, it was a lot of fun. That was pretty fucking bitching, man. Seriously. So, and all of that good time for $20. Which, once again, like we were saying, is the deal of the fucking day right there. You know?
And I always emphasize when we look at our poster, I'm like, you get a fucking great time. Because, like, I really think people have such a great time at this event. Like, you know, like you were mentioning some of the moms, like the moms went and posted, or like, you know, went to a puff and paint class with my son. So it's like a real fulfilling experience. Because like what you said, you're like, I was like, what am I doing? What the hell? And then it came together and you were like, bang, this is me. I did this, you know, I'm Picasso now.
I'm going to check it out. I'm ready. I'm ready to fucking, well, maybe not take it out on the walls, but buy some more canvas.
I got a bunch of canvas for you. If you're serious, I got you.
Nah, let's not get carried away. I mean, maybe. Hey, so how long have you ladies been doing this?
So I want to say this is going to be our second year.
Wow.
Because we do them once a month, and like I told you in the beginning, it was really hard to like financially like get our numbers right, you know, because sure. You know, you're ordering like a half ounce. But a half ounce is like, you know, it's like all this money and you're like art supplies. So it took us a while to master. And so we had months where we didn't have one, but we would have to the next month, you know, or so it's been like up and down. This year, luckily, we actually have been able to like, it self-funds itself, you know, so we've been able to like get it to the point where we're no longer paying out of pocket. It's actually just like funding itself. So that was really cool. So I always say 10 years. But I can't even like.
Did you say 10 years?
Sorry, 2 years. I just can't even get cool. I just can't. I don't have an actual number. I'm like 10 years, 2 years. I just want to be 10 years. That's what I want it to be.
That's all right. Well, you know, we'll be back in, you know, another 8. We'll check it out. Shit.
Yeah, well,
then we'll have some studios.
You heard it right here. I want this to go on for 10 years.
10 years. By then she's going to have a little studio out there by the collection, if you don't know where that is.
Oh, yeah, there's a wine and paint class.
I'm telling you, yeah, right.
In
See?
the collection.
Should have one right across the street.
Every time I walk by it, I'm like jealous. I'm like, I want a studio.
No, we're going to get one right across the street like that. Bam.
Give them a run for their money. We'll win, though. We'll win.
There's enough money for everybody. Not about
those
competition
are expensive.
shit.
They're like $50.
This is what I mean.
Yeah, like $50 for and wine isn't even as delicious as weed, if you ask me. You know, personally,
well, no,
I'm not a big drinker. I'm more of a stoner.
It's also you don't get the hangover later on the next day. You're good. At least, I mean, you know, I'm crisp the next day.
Oh yeah, I'm sharp. I tell people all the time, like weed. I don't get like. Maybe it's because it does have a medicinal like factor in my body, you know. Mm-hmm. I don't get like trippy trips like that. Like to me, I just sharpen up. I think on my own, I'm kind of like ditzy and stuff like that. But when I'm high, I'm like, what needs to get done?
Straight away.
Let's do this, you know. Like hey, I'm high now. I'm gonna take over the world.
I can do it all.
Yeah.
Hey, so the class is $20. It's $20.
Yeah, the class is $20.
All right. And like we were saying, you get a pre-roll and an edible, and you learn how to paint. You get all your painting supplies. Yeah, we need to get you guys some sponsors, both for painting material and for the weed.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'm down. If you are down to sponsor us, hit us up, because we're totally down.
All right, you heard that? All right. I'll work on that. We'll see what happens. What else was I going to ask you about that? I don't know. Okay, so what's the limit on the class that you have?
So, just to provide a good quality experience, you know, just like artist to student ratio, we kept it at 20.
That's a pretty good number.
And yeah, in those 20 spots, so we always do a giveaway. Every class, you know, we have someone come in. We do a raffle, you know, we'll be like, poster. We'll pick a winner. So we always have a giveaway, and you know, because somebody got to get lucky. It's nice to give back too, you know. It feels good to be able to have somebody just come in and be like, I had a great time for no money. Y'all should come out, enjoy it, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. Part of the proceeds go to charities?
Yeah, so we don't keep the money that we actually donate, that we actually get. So it actually gets donated. We recently stopped promoting who we would donate our funds to, because we donated, you know, I'm not going to burn anybody out, but we donated to this organization, and they actually got into like a little squaddle, you know, about like, oh, but it's like a weed class, you know, so that's why we don't no longer like put it out there.
Sure.
But yeah, all the proceeds go. So we give the artist a percentage, and you know, because he gives us time. We take out, you know, what we need for supplies so we could do the next one, you know, and then the rest just gets donated to different kind of organizations. Like
some of the charities that you guys donate to, you guys have bought backpacks for certain middle schools.
Yeah, we bought backpacks for middle schools. We've donated a full like bunch of supplies for somebody to start a garden.
Oh.
We've donated, when the Thomas fires were happening, we were able to donate like a bunch of masks, water. So yeah, it gets put to good use, because when you think about, I'm from Oxnard and I grew up on the south side. I grew up in South Oxnard, which is like low income, brown community, gets ignored, by, the most of the city, like that side gets kind of like ignored.
Sure.
So, like I explained to you, I am an activist. So through just doing different community work, I always hear, oh, we can't do that because there's no money. Like, oh, we can't do that because there's no money. Like, oh, we can't do that because there's no money, So we finally got tired of hearing that, the beautiful children of, like South Oxnard can't have a garden, or they don't have backpacks, So initially it was a way for us just to be able to do what people were saying we couldn't because of money. So we are getting this money and we're doing these things that people said we couldn't do,
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. Good for you ladies, man. Thank you. That's great, man. That's awesome. So the last thing I want to know is, does Happy Trees do like private parties? Like say in a couple of years,
we're open. We are so open.
Or like a corporate event.
If anybody wants to hit me up, I think it could happen. We've gotten offers from people up in Moore Park. They're like, come do one in Moore Park. So we next month, we're not gonna like. I'm not gonna burn it out, but we actually have an artist coming down from LA to host the class, and she's like, if I come host one over here, will you do one over there? She's from LA, and I was like, yeah, girl, I got you. Like, we'll go up there, we'll take it. We're talking about possible, locations. So we're ready to travel. Like anybody who thinks they like got it like that, like hit us up. We'll come in. We bring the art supplies, we bring the teacher. A really good time.
I'm thinking like, I don't know, man, like someone's 45th birthday, just have a bunch of friends. Hey, we're fucking high and paint a fucking picture. Like, yeah. Right? Or a corporate event. Look, I know, I know those
team building happens so much. Our community, like our little 420 art class community they get for our people who come back often, like, cause I'm telling you, like we have regulars that don't miss a class. And it's so beautiful to have that kind of loyalty, I would love to go and be like, it's your birthday, let's do a whole party. We're definitely in a position to do that now that we've like been doing it for a while and kind of have like our hands more, up in the dirt.
No, I'm thinking, cause look, some of these cannabis companies, they need the same thing, man. They need some team building, right? They can supply the cannabis, bring in the talent. Okay, it's going to be awesome. Anyway.
Yeah, no, you really, you took the class yourself. It's really like stress free and it's really beautiful. It's a very relaxing experience. So I definitely see like the team, the little 420 team that we have. And, I think it could be picked up. So if you're a dispensary and your employees just argue a lot, hit me up. We'll do some 420,
yeah, there you therapy.
Go. We get them right for you.
Yeah. All right, Diane. Well, look, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me. Do me a favor. Let everybody know how they can find you and your class.
Awesome. So we currently are only on Instagram. So literally at Happy Tree Art Class 805. That's how you get a hold of us. If you want to collaborate, if you want to talk about sponsorship, if you're an artist and you're like, I could do this. If you got the dank, hit us up. I really want to encourage artists. One of the hardest parts that we have is, finding artists who want to, teach the class. Even if you've never taught a class, like we will help you. We'll get your lesson plan together. It's a really self-growing experience. So always looking for artists, always looking for people to contribute. So yeah, hit us up. Happy Tree Art Class 805 on Instagram.
Oh, hey. So yeah, how does that happen? How do you help the artists come together with the lesson plan?
Well, we've been lucky enough to where most of our artists have already had experience. You know, John, he was actually one of the only artists that told me, like, I've never taught a class. And I don't know if you noticed, he had his homie caveman tattooer teaching, like, in the back. That was actually, like, his way of, like, making himself feel, like, more secure about his class. So,
I actually thought that was a good idea because it was, like, staged. You had one artist up front, and then, like, a couple of tables back, you had another artist kind of, like, showing everybody else in the back the same thing. I was like, wow, that's pretty smart. That's the way they do it. They're like, fucking A. They're organized.
Yeah, so John's actually the first artist to do that. Most artists that we have worked with have had experience and know how to, like, maneuver around the room and how to, like you said, you know, there was a bunch of different tables. They know how to, like, make sure everyone's handled. But, yeah, he was like, I'm going to bring my homie. He's going to help me. We're going to do it. It worked out great. We gave the mama some little gift baskets. I made some paper flowers for them, you know.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I felt a little slighted until I heard, oh, it's for the moms. I was like, oh, all right. That's when I remembered, oh, shit, it's Mother's Day. No, that's not true.
Yeah, I know, dude. True. Those mamas were having more fun than us. Like, I don't know if you heard them in the back table. This is where most of the moms sat.
Yeah.
They were over there busting out laughing, like, making jokes. I was like, man, I love moms. Like, they know how to party, man.
When are you going to bring your mom?
My mom actually told me to F off when I asked her. She was like...
Well, how long ago was that? Maybe her mind has changed.
You know what? No, I think, you know, for my mom's mind to change, like, it has to become legal federally.
Oh, really?
Like, that's really when I see my mom.
So is your mom...
My grandma...
Is your mom like...
Sorry, what was that?
I was going to ask, is your mom, like, from the motherland? Like, from Mexico, or...
Oh, yeah, my mom's Mexicana, man. Like, she's from El Distrito Federal, and she's from the city of Mexico.
That kind of explains it.
She's actually a pretty open-minded woman. She just...
no, but I mean about not just marijuana, but all drugs, you know, because, I mean, everybody I talk to that's from, you know, Mexico, from the motherland, at a certain age, they associate all drugs with cartel, you know, and violence and death, which I get. I understand, you know, I used to live there, you know, it's all kind of... But it's a different type of stigma.
There's a huge stigma. Yeah, no, definitely the Mexican community is not very accepting of the drug culture at all. Like,
no, they're not accepting of the drug culture, but they're all familiar with, like you were talking about, your abuelas using it for your aches and pains.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
and that's ancient. Like, you know, like, I remember my grandma having, you know, before I knew what weed was, like, I remember my grandma having her little, like, oil, like, her alcohol, you know,
rubbing alcohol.
It'd have weed in there, you know, and I'd be like, what's this? And she's like, don't touch it, you know, but she would, like, put it
slap
on
it out of your hand.
Like,
yeah, that's the trippy thing about just the Mexican culture sometimes about marijuana, man. So...
Yeah, but I think, see, like, I didn't hide it from my mom. Like, so I have my younger sister. She's 22, and I think she made it easier for me to tell my mom that, like, I smoke pot, because, like, she was very open, and she's always had, like this I don't care attitude, you know. So she's like very straightforward and very honest human being, you know. So she would openly smoke weed around the house, and, like, my mom would be like, no, you know, and she would be like, no, I like it. I'm not hurting anyone. So when I decided I was gonna be, like, a real stoner, right, like, that I was gonna be taking it every day, and I was gonna be, like, an actual partaker in this community, I, like, sat my mom down and I was like, I'm a good person, right? Like, I have good grades, right? You would consider me a good person, right? And she was like, are you pregnant? And I was like, no, I'm not. I actually smoke, like, all kinds of weed. And I, like, busted out my stash. And she, like, still talked to me for a few days, but she lets me, I mean, she would let me have 420 events in her backyard, you know, like, if she was really as, cool, like, against it as she says she was, then she wouldn't let me do that. So I think in my heart, my mom just needs it to be legal, so she's not, like, a bad parent, you know?
Right. Yeah, I get that. I can see that.
Oh, yeah, because I would tell her, I'll give you $50. You can just leave all day, you know, and when you come back, like, everything will be picked up. And she would be like, are you going to be smoking weed? And I would be like, yeah, but it will be gone by the time you're here, you know?
But you'll never know we were here. We're like magicians. No, well, you know what? Good on your mom for encouraging you, man. You know.
Well, good on my mom for not for not knocking me
Well,
down
there you
and
go.
just for allowing me, because I don't know if she approves of it.
I don't know about
but I know
encouraging,
she
but at
doesn't
least...
stop. She definitely doesn't stop me, and I think in my head that's like all the approval I need.
All right on, man. All right, Diane. Well, like I said, thank you for getting on the phone with me. Don't hang up. Everybody else, I'm going to play some music, and I'm going to be right back.
I've got trouble.
Well, everyone, that was Diane from Happy Tree Art Class. Now, as you can tell from that conversation, I had a really good time at that art class. Plus, you can't beat the price. A pre-roll, an edible, and an art lesson for $20. Come on, man, that's the deal of the day. Now, like she said, they do an art class once a month. And if you're interested in going to one of these art classes or sponsoring one of them, reach out to Diane or Cheyenne on Instagram. You can find them at Happy Tree Art Class 805. Well, brothers and sisters, hermanos y hermanas, that's all I have for you today. Now, if you have any questions or comments about this episode, you can send me an email. That is inmygrow@gmail.com, or you can find me on Instagram at inmygrow. Now, don't forget, if this episode has educated you, entertained you, or even given you a little escape from your day, go over to patreon.com/inmygrowshow and leave a donation. Now, those funds just help me pay for different hosting fees and equipment so I can keep this show going. Now, if you don't want to leave a donation, you can go over to inmygrow.com, click on the Support the Show tab, and you can buy a t-shirt. Or even easier, before you go shopping on Amazon, click on the Amazon link in the show notes of this episode so they know that we sent you and we get a commission. Well, everyone, enjoy the long weekend and be safe. I love you all very much, and remember to always grow, learn, and teach.
My man was wanted, there were no he-men left. I had to satisfy my soul with a freakish forever. Yes, I've got trouble. Holding this man of mine. Seems there's always trouble every time that I speak my mind. He called me up this morning from the county jail. He said, "Rick, you frantic female, come down here and collect my bail. I've got trouble holding this man of mine. Seems there's trouble every time that I speak my mind. He's got a head like a monkey. He looks just like a bear. A mouth full of tobacco, squirting it everywhere. But he's my daddy. Lord knows I love him just the same. My mama done told me he's my baby, but I'm scared to Baba did, Baba ubudi balap. It ba aba uba, it ba aba baba did. I've got trouble holding this man of mine. Say it seems there's trouble every time I speak my mind.